7 strange things empaths do that only true empaths will truly understand. Empaths are often seen as rare gifts in society. Their presence carries a quiet importance that influences the people around them in deep and often unseen ways. They are naturally selfless, highly sensitive, and deeply caring individuals who often step into the role of emotional healers in the lives of others. However, despite the positive energy they bring into the world, empaths are sometimes misunderstood. Many people label them as unusual, overly sensitive, or even strange because of their strong ability to sense emotions, absorb the energy of others, recover from emotional overload, and perceive things on a level most people cannot relate to. In some extreme interpretations, people even mistake their sensitivity for something supernatural or beyond ordinary understanding. For those who identify as empaths, life can feel like a constant struggle to fit in. They often hide their sensitivity because they fear being judged, rejected, or labeled as weird. Yet, what they don't realize is that only another empath can truly recognize and understand them. Empaths tend to recognize each other instinctively, as if they are tuned into the same emotional frequency. Even without words, they can sense when someone else carries the same depth of feeling. In this video, we are going to explore some of the unusual and misunderstood behaviors that only genuine empaths will truly relate to. But before we begin, if you find value in this content, make sure to like and share the video, and if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future insights like this. 1. Feeling completely drained in crowded places. One of the most common experiences among empaths is feeling overwhelmed in busy environments. Whether it is a crowded street, a packed bar, or a noisy club, these places can quickly become emotionally exhausting. When an empath enters such an environment, it can feel like an internal overload. Instead of simply hearing noise or seeing people, they begin to absorb emotions from everyone around them at the same time. Happiness, stress, anger, excitement, anxiety, all of it mixes together and becomes difficult to filter out. This emotional flooding can become so intense that the empath feels an urgent need to leave the space immediately, almost like escaping. It is not just discomfort, it is a deep sensory and emotional overload that becomes hard to control. What makes it even more challenging is that this is not imagination. Empaths genuinely pick up on emotional frequencies from multiple people simultaneously, which can overwhelm their inner balance. Because of this, empaths often need to learn emotional boundaries, an invisible shield that allows them to remain present without absorbing everything around them. With time and awareness, they learn to let emotions pass by them rather than take them in as their own. 2. Being extremely selective about where they live or spend time. Empaths do not only experience the emotions of individuals, they also unconsciously absorb the emotional atmosphere of the environments they enter. For them, every place carries a kind of emotional imprint. It is not just about physical surroundings, architecture, or comfort. It is about how a place feels on an energetic and emotional level. Because of this heightened sensitivity, empaths often cannot simply ignore or shut off the energy of a location. Even if they try to convince themselves that everything is fine, their inner system continues to pick up subtle emotional signals from the environment. It is almost as if their perception goes beyond what is visible and taps into what is emotionally present in the space. This is why the choice of where they live or spend time is not random. It is deeply influenced by emotional resonance. A place that looks perfect on the outside may still feel heavy, tense, or draining to them. On the other hand, a simple, quiet place may feel incredibly peaceful and safe. Environments that are chaotic, overstimulating, or emotionally charged can quickly exhaust an empath. Busy streets filled with constant movement, crowded cities with little personal space, or areas where stress and conflict are common can create a sense of internal overload. Even if nothing directly happens to them, they still feel affected by the collective emotional energy around them. For this reason, many empaths naturally avoid places that feel overwhelming on a sensory or emotional level. High crime areas, overly dense urban centers, or environments filled with constant tension often feel unbearable after a short period of exposure. It is not fear in the traditional sense, it is energetic exhaustion. Instead, empaths are often drawn toward quieter, more grounded environments, places where life moves at a slower pace, areas where there is more nature, more silence, or at least a sense of emotional balance. These environments allow their nervous system to relax and reset. In calm surroundings, empaths tend to function at their best. Their thoughts become clearer, their emotions stabilize, and their inner world feels less chaotic. They are able to reflect, heal, and focus on their personal growth without being constantly influenced by external emotional noise. For an empath, peace is not a luxury or an occasional preference. It is a fundamental requirement for emotional stability. Without it, they can easily become drained, overwhelmed, or disconnected from themselves. With it, they can thrive, create, and feel aligned with their inner purpose. 3. Absorbing the emotions of others without realizing it. One of the most defining and often misunderstood traits of an empath is their automatic absorption of other people's emotions. This process does not happen consciously. It is not something they choose or control in the moment. Instead, it happens naturally, almost like emotional osmosis, where feelings transfer without deliberate effort. When an empath is near someone experiencing strong emotions, their internal state begins to shift in response. If they are around someone who is angry, they may suddenly feel tension building inside them, even if they were calm just moments before. If they are with someone who is sad or emotionally burdened, they may start to feel a heaviness in their chest, a drop in energy, or even unexplained tears. On the other hand, positive emotions are also absorbed just as easily. If someone nearby is excited, happy, or energized, the empath may begin to feel uplifted or emotionally bright without any direct reason of their own. Because of this constant emotional mirroring, empaths can sometimes struggle to distinguish between what they truly feel and what they are absorbing from others. Their emotional state can shift frequently depending on who they are with or what environment they are in. This can create confusion, especially when they cannot trace the origin of their feelings. At times, it may even feel like they do not have a stable emotional identity. Instead of having consistent internal emotions, they experience waves of feelings that seem to belong to different people or situations around them. Over time, this can become mentally and emotionally draining if not understood or managed properly. This is why emotional awareness becomes so important for empaths. The ability to pause and recognize, is this emotion mine, or am I picking it up from someone else, can make a significant difference in their mental clarity and emotional health. With practice, empaths can learn to create subtle inner boundaries. These boundaries do not block emotions completely, but instead filter them. This allows them to remain compassionate and sensitive without becoming overwhelmed by every emotional current they encounter. When this balance is achieved, empaths can still connect deeply with others while maintaining a stable sense of self. They can feel without drowning and understand without losing their own emotional identity in the process. 4. A strong and almost unsettling intuition. Empaths often possess an intuitive ability that goes far beyond ordinary perception. It is not just a gut feeling in the simple sense, it is a deep internal awareness that allows them to sense underlying truths that others may miss entirely. They are extremely sensitive to subtle cues in human behavior. Tone of voice, facial expressions, pauses in speech, eye movement, and body language all become part of a silent language they naturally understand. Even when nothing is explicitly said, they are still able to pick up on what is really going on beneath the surface. Because of this, it becomes very difficult for people to deceive them. Even if someone is carefully controlling their words or trying to present a false image, an empath often senses the mismatch between what is being said and what is actually being felt. They may not always be able to explain it logically, but they can feel when something is off. In many situations, empaths can detect emotional truths without any verbal communication at all. A brief glance, a shift in silence, or a change in energy in the room is often enough for them to understand what someone is experiencing internally. This makes their perception feel almost instinctive, as if they are reading emotional signals that others cannot see. This intuitive awareness allows empaths to look beyond surface-level appearances. While others may focus on words or external behavior, empaths tend to perceive emotional depth. They can often sense hidden pain behind a smile, fear behind confidence, or sadness behind laughter. However, this heightened perception is not always easy to carry. Constantly reading emotional undercurrents can become overwhelming, especially in environments filled with mixed or intense emotions. When everything is felt so deeply, it can be difficult to switch off or find mental quietness. Because of this, emotional boundaries become essential once again. Without them, intuition can turn into overload. But when balanced properly, this same sensitivity becomes a powerful gift. It allows empaths to understand people on a deeper level, build meaningful connections, and navigate human behavior with rare insight. In its balanced form, intuition becomes clarity rather than confusion. It becomes a guide rather than a burden, helping empaths move through life with a deeper understanding of both people and themselves. 5. Putting other people's needs before their own. Empaths often find it extremely difficult to prioritize themselves in the same way other people do. While most individuals naturally focus on their own struggles first, empaths tend to operate in the opposite direction. They instinctively shift their attention outward, toward the emotions, problems, and suffering of those around them, even when they are going through their own internal battles. Instead of addressing what they are feeling inside, they quietly suppress it. Their personal pain, stress, or confusion is often set aside, not because it disappears, but because they feel a stronger pull to support others. Even when something deeply painful is happening in their own life, empaths rarely feel comfortable opening up about it. They may fear burdening others or believe that their problems are not important enough to share. What usually happens is that they become emotional absorbers. The moment they are around someone who is struggling, their attention shifts completely. They begin to tune into that person's emotional state, trying to understand it, ease it, or help them feel better. Without even realizing it, they start carrying the emotional weight of others as if it were their own responsibility. Over time, this creates a pattern where the empath's identity becomes closely tied to caregiving. They become the person everyone turns to, the listener, the supporter, the emotional anchor. Yet in this process, their own emotional needs slowly get pushed into the background. It becomes normal for them to be fully present for others while being absent from their own healing. Many empaths carry the belief that other people's struggles are always heavier or more important than their own. This mindset leads them to downplay their emotions. They might think, others have it worse, or I shouldn't complain even when they are overwhelmed. While this humility makes them deeply compassionate and selfless, it also creates emotional exhaustion when left unchecked. The truth is, even for an empath, self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity. You cannot continuously pour energy into others if your own inner world is depleted. Just like an empty vessel cannot fill another cup, an emotionally drained empath cannot sustain constant healing and support for everyone else. This is why self-value becomes essential. It is not about ignoring others or stepping away from compassion. It is about understanding that your emotional stability directly affects your ability to help anyone else. When you are grounded, rested, and emotionally balanced, your support becomes more genuine and sustainable. It is important to clarify that this does not mean an empath should become selfish or closed off. That is not realistic for their nature. Instead, it is about balance. It is about recognizing your limits, respecting your emotions, and allowing yourself space to heal before stepping into the role of healer for others. True strength for an empath begins the moment they learn to include themselves in the circle of care they so easily extend to others. When an empath learns this balance, something powerful shifts. They no longer feel drained after helping others. Instead, they feel stable, present, and aligned. They can still love deeply, support fully, and care sincerely, but without losing themselves in the process. 6. Naturally attracting emotionally broken or struggling people. One of the most noticeable and often misunderstood patterns in an empath's life is how frequently they attract people who are emotionally wounded, lost, or going through difficult phases. It almost feels as if these individuals are naturally drawn toward the empath's presence, even without any conscious effort from either side. This happens because empaths carry an energy that feels calm, accepting, and emotionally safe. People who are struggling often sense this instantly. Even without words, they can feel that the empath is someone who will listen without judgment, understand without criticism, and offer comfort without rejection. In a world where many people feel unseen or misunderstood, the empath becomes a kind of emotional refuge. Their presence feels grounding. Their energy feels soft and accepting. And because of this, people carrying emotional pain often gravitate toward them, sometimes without even realizing why. At first, this connection can feel meaningful and even fulfilling. Empaths naturally want to help. They listen deeply, they offer comfort, and they try to heal what is broken in others. However, over time, this constant flow of emotional dependence from others can become overwhelming. The challenge is that empaths are not just observers of pain, they absorb it. So when they are surrounded by people who are constantly struggling, they do not only hear the pain, they feel it. This can lead to emotional fatigue, confusion, and burnout if boundaries are not established. It is important to understand a key truth. While empaths can support healing, they are not responsible for fixing everyone they meet. Every individual has their own journey, their own healing process, and their own responsibility toward growth. Without boundaries, an empath's life can become filled with emotional demands from others. People may come seeking advice, comfort, or relief, but they may leave behind emotional weight that the empath continues to carry long after the interaction ends. This is why learning emotional boundaries is essential. It allows empaths to remain compassionate without becoming overwhelmed. It helps them recognize when to listen, when to support, and when to step back to protect their own energy. When balance is achieved, something healthier emerges. Empaths can still help others, but they no longer lose themselves in the process. They become guides rather than emotional carriers, supporters rather than absorbers. 7. A deep and natural connection with animals and nature. Empaths often share a profound and almost instinctive bond with animals and the natural world. Unlike human environments that can feel overwhelming, unpredictable, or emotionally intense, nature provides a sense of calmness that feels deeply healing to them. When an empath spends time in nature, whether it is a quiet forest, an open field, a mountain landscape, or even a peaceful garden, they often feel a sense of relief. It is as if their internal emotional noise begins to slow down. Their thoughts become clearer, their energy becomes lighter, and their mind feels less burdened. Nature does not demand anything from them. It does not judge, criticize, or overwhelm. Instead, it offers stillness. And for an empath who constantly processes emotional energy, that stillness feels like restoration. Animals, in particular, hold a very special place in an empath's emotional world. There is something incredibly genuine and uncomplicated about animals that resonates deeply with them. Animals do not hide their emotions. They do not pretend or manipulate. What you see is what you feel. This honesty creates a powerful sense of trust between empaths and animals. Many empaths feel that animals understand them in ways humans often cannot. A dog's loyalty, a cat's quiet presence, or even the peaceful observation of birds or wildlife can bring a sense of emotional grounding. In many cases, animals also seem to respond to empaths in a unique way. They often feel calm in their presence, as if recognizing the gentle energy the empath carries. This mutual sensitivity creates a silent bond that does not require words but still feels deeply meaningful. Because of this connection, empaths often find healing in nature and comfort in animals during times of emotional overwhelm. It becomes a form of emotional reset, a way to return to themselves after absorbing too much from the world around them. In the end, these 7 traits reflect the deeper emotional reality of what it means to be an empath. If you see yourself in these experiences, you are not alone. Many people silently go through the same struggles and sensitivities, even if they do not always speak about them. If this resonated with you, feel free to share your thoughts and experiences. And if you found value in this, don't forget to subscribe and stay connected for more insights like this. Music. In conclusion, being an empath is both a powerful gift and a heavy responsibility. It means experiencing life on a deeper emotional level than most people, where you don't just understand others, you feel them. From absorbing emotions without realizing it, to being deeply affected by environments, to carrying a strong intuition that often reveals hidden truths, every part of an empath's life is shaped by sensitivity and awareness. While these traits allow empaths to connect, heal, and support others in meaningful ways, they can also lead to emotional exhaustion if there are no boundaries. That is why self-awareness, emotional protection, and inner balance are essential. An empath must learn that caring for others does not require losing themselves in the process. Ultimately, the real strength of an empath lies not only in their ability to feel deeply, but in their ability to understand when to step back, recharge, and protect their own energy. Because when an empath is balanced, their sensitivity becomes a powerful force of healing, not just for others, but for themselves as well.